that banjo is it's a old Gibson top tension. Do you know what year is it?
Yeah, yes, 1940. It's a Gibson PB7 Plectrum banjo, top tension. Sent to South Africa for the H. Polyak Company. It was like one of the Gibson's clients in South Africa when the banjo fell out of fashion in the late 30s, early 40s. Sent back to Gruen Guitars in 2016. It was not selling as a Plectrum banjo. It still had its Plectrum neck. So they got Robin Smith to build a 5-string neck, and on it, I'm guessing around that same year. And then I discovered it in December of 2017. So not long after it had arrived, and I played it, and I couldn't resist it. It was the best banjo I'd ever played, and I somehow convinced my grandfather to make an investment for me. So I guess I'm not the legal owner of this instrument, but he's not going to ask for it back. If something terrible happens, I can sell a banjo. He can sell a banjo. So. Yes, but yeah, 1940 PP7 top tension, technically conversion with a new Robin Smith 5-string neck.
What do you think the top tension does to the tone of the banjo? I mean, it's easier to adjust the head, but what do you think just that top tension changes the tone versus a regular,
What I've heard, it seems to be that because of all this excess metal, the top tension has so much more metal than a standard Granada. Like this thing weighs about 13 to 14 pounds. Most top tensions do. What I've heard Noah Bakelny say, who's pretty much the biggest top tension geek you can find, he said, this extra metal just seems to add sustain. Seems to add, I mean, I'm not exactly the most versed in physics, but it seems to be that the extra metal and extra weight, everything, does add a heaviness and warmth to the tone that other banjos don't have. I'm sure there's other factors. I might not be correct about this, but I believe a lot of top tensions might be included. At the back has a flat back. It doesn't curve in, which has some influence on the tone. Again, I'm not completely sure, but in general, to answer your question plainly, it's this extra metal that somehow adds to the sustain, and especially it being as old as it is, it's resonated for so long. It's one unit. It's not individual parts. Every piece of this banjo, they all know each other. So,
what do you do to your banjo to bring out the warmth in it? To take off some of that high end, that classic, shrillness that banjo people think of the banjo.
Mm-hmm. The main thing, the biggest, I maybe shouldn't call it the biggest, but one of the main influences is head tension. There's a lot of, if you're a banjo, probably this. The bluegrass standard is to have your head ring it around a G sharp. I think mine's around a little bit under a G or so. I have, for a long time, messed around with this. I've gone down to as low as E, sometimes F sharp in the head tension. Right now, I want it set up so I can play bluegrass. So I don't play some bluegrass at Oberlin, so I want it set up so I can sound good in a bluegrass jam, so to say, but it still sounds warm. So, Ode's Code specifically was recorded, I think, with a head tension of around F, very low. And right now I'm at like a little bit below G 440, G A435, something like that. So that's that's the key player. The other thing is bridge. Like this is a neckfill bridge. Somehow I convinced Tom Neckfield to make me this free of charge. He just sent it to me in the mail very kindly. And it changed the way it sounds. It's also a compensated bridge, so I never have a sharp third string. That can be a problem on the flat bridges, specifically the third string going sharp. It is not the original tailpiece, but this tailpiece makes a big difference. I actually put on a neckfill tailpiece and it took away a whole bunch of the banjo's warmth, believe it or not. Not sure why, but for some reason this specific clamshell presso tailpiece, which is new, by the way, a new presso clamshell, contributes to the overall warmth. More recently, high action. I'm not sure. I don't measure it, but I've adjusted the truss rod so that I have more of a bend in the neck. I haven't messed too much with the coordinator rods. But that's pretty much it. I would say the biggest contributor is the lower head tension.
Yeah. And how tall is your bridge? Do you know?
It says so on the bottom. I'm not going to take it off now. I haven't taken it off for a while. I think it's 11/8 of an inch.
11/16. 11/16 maybe. That's pretty common. That 5/8 or 11/16 are the two common ones.
11/16 sounds right. Yeah, I haven't checked for a long time.
And you're using heavier gauge strings, or you're using just a lighter gauge? Do you know the string gauges you use?
Yeah. I use the straight up strings, medium gauge strings. That's from 1 to 5. 10, 11, 13, 20, and 10. I used to go, that's pretty much standard for a lot of bluegrass players. I used to go heavier, like 11, 13, 16, 23.
Mm-hmm.
That has its own interesting quality, but it doesn't work for bluegrass, and for some reason it sounds a little bit thuddier. There's a certain type of sparkle that goes away when you have heavy gauge strings. It also depends on the banjo. I mean, it's a pain in the ass for so many players. Like, why is my banjo sounding thin? Oh, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this, it could be that. It's like owning a car. So, but
yeah.
To not go on a tangent, I use light gauge strings right now.